Hi, I'm Michael, and this is Abdul,
Hello.
and we are here today talking about building your SaaS, in-house or outsourced, right? That's the question a lot of people have of what they want to do with their, they're building up their platform of the SaaS business. Should I outsource it or should I keep it in-house? And the funny thing is that just to give a little background, Abdul and I are not programmers. We're both somewhat technical. He's a little more technical than I am on server stuff. I've done more programming, I think, in life than he has. But I think overall, we're not very super technical. So we had this conversation about should we hire an in-house team or outsource it, right? So I think today what we'll do is we will go kind of through the pros and cons of both and discuss and why we decided what we were going to do versus, obviously everyone has their own opinion and is entitled to it. So just for our business model, we think it made sense. So let's talk just quickly. What are the pros of outsourcing in your mind, Abdul?
Yeah. I'll just like to add one thing because I'm very sure that my friends, when they look at this video, they say why we have the same clothes on. So it's not like in the last 3 videos, we've done it like in a week and I'm wearing the same clothes. We're doing this videos like we're trying to, because I think we already had a lot of topics overdue and we want to like quickly bring it up to today. So we then start talking about today. So we are just doing them in the same day. That's why we're wearing the same clothes.
Or I'll just take this off next time and they'll see the green shirt and it'll be different. So
okay. So I think definitely like this is especially when if someone who's thinking of building a product or a SaaS product, right? And they're technical themselves, they're like developers themselves, and the product especially is smaller in scale. We normally see a lot of people do it themselves, like indie, like where you can see there are a lot of indie products that are coming out these days where it's a single founder, he's the one who's doing everything. And they're really good products, but they're much smaller in scale. So I think definitely when you're thinking of a bigger product, a product that you're planning that would be used by thousands of people and would be like on a larger scale, you do get this question, okay, should I, even if I'm a developer, you'll need more help, right? So should I outsource it? Should I hire a team in-house? I think this gets asked a lot as well. And I think there are use cases for both. I won't say that one is better than the other. I think it depends on the situation. And I think like we will discuss forward in going forward in this recording that why we chose whatever we chose and how we came to that conclusion. But I think there are use cases for both because I've done like in my career in the past when I've been working with different people, there have been cases where we thought outsourced is better and we outsourced the whole development process and not focus on that. But I think in a SaaS business, especially if you're like thinking of doing something large scale and long term, I think personally that going in-house is always better. I'll just put that out at the start because definitely like I want to put my bias out at the start. I want to put my bias out at the start that this is definitely like this is something that I feel and I think I can back that up as well as we go forward. But I think the idea is that outsourced is really good in certain use cases where it's very limited. The use cases there are very limited. But definitely, if it's a larger scale product, it's something that you want to do for long term. It's something that that will take a couple of years to get fully matured, and then after going forward from that phase as well, you'll be having a lot of users, a lot of new features. Because especially in today's time, like the product that we are building, we know that by the time we reach maybe year 1, year 2, when the product is much more mature, maybe the whole industry has shifted to something else. So a platform or a product will be also shifting with it. So we know that, okay, we have a very long road ahead of us. And for that long road, you need people there with you. You cannot rely on, okay, for some certain aspects, maybe once you have a bigger platform, you can plug in resources. Plugging in resources is fine. But developing it from scratch, I think it was in-house.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I saw was I've built products before, tried to build them. I have built them, but maybe not 100% successfully. I think sometimes when you get into this, you think there's a start and an end, right? And with development, there's hardly ever a start and an end, right? You're constantly going to have new features. You're going to constantly have new things that come up, feature requests or issues or whatever. And I think that's why my bias, knowing that this was going to be a 5-10 year project, right? My bias was towards doing the in-house because With an outsourced team, if you say, hey, this is what I want to build this one little widget or tool, and you're done at that point, and you put it up on your website, and it's a tool that searches XYZ. Cool. That has a beginning and an end. This, knowing what I know, does not have an end, unfortunately, right? So development costs are going to constantly be there. Not always what we want to hear. And the other advice I would give to anybody that's trying to do this, it's probably going to cost you more than you think it's going to build a product, to get where you are, unless you have very crystal clear sprints or documentation of what's going to happen when it's going to happen. And whether that be for development in-house or outside of that, I think it's or in-house or outsourced, right? It's important to have that, especially for outsourced, so that you don't lose scope, you don't get scope creep, right? And you stay very much on budget and on time. So that's, I think both of us have kind of said the way we're going to lean here a little bit is, our team is in-house. We are building a team in-house for our platform. Much more, I think the benefits of the outsourcing is you're up and running very quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Immediately you could have a team building this project. We wouldn't have to wait a month and a half, 2 months to find the right guys, get them in the seats, and have them start coding. Right. We could be 2 months ahead of that. That was the benefit. Do you know of any other benefits of outsourcing?
I think definitely I think you summed it up quite correctly, that if it's something that it has an end date, it's a small product or it's a addition to a product, but it's a small solution that okay, this is what I need, and once I have that, I don't need anything else, then definitely outsourced is a better option. You shouldn't be doing it in-house. But if it's like a product where okay, this is a product that I'll build, by the time it gets built, I'll have more features that we need to build, and a lot of bug fixing that will need to be happening as well going forward. So I think in-house is a better option. But yes, when it comes to outsource, definitely like building an MVP, as you said, like a minimum viable product, is much faster with an outsourced team, where you can because you can then select the type of agency outsourcing company that you work with as well, because you can search for someone who's experienced in your industry, and you can look at them, you can say, okay, these guys already have built something like that, they already have that experience, we can hit the ground running maybe in a couple of days. But I think definitely that's something that even if you then do it and you have an MVP and you start going forward, if it's a big product, someday you'll have to bring it in-house anyways. So that's the thing, right? Okay, do you want to do that whole waiting period now, or do you want to get the MVP out, spend a lot of more money as well, and get the product out? But then maybe you might need to move the product in-house.
Yeah, anyway. And what I've seen with developers is, let's say you did that. Let's say you built the MVP and then you brought it in. Most developers want to then start over and build their own thing because they think it's coded wrong or whatever, right? And when you bring two companies in to do two different things, they always say, we got to rewrite this part.
Right, so blame starts there with, this is not right, this is not right. Oh, this is like, oh, who coded this? That's the first thing you'll hear from any other coder. Who coded this? So the thing is, definitely, even if you hire the best expert, your developer, the next developer, you'll have that question, right?
Exactly.
So I think it is there when two people do ask this a lot, and there is a lot of discussions going on. Definitely, people can have a different opinion than what we have. But I think, especially, I think it's a very correct analogy. Like, if it has an end date, you should outsource. If it doesn't have an end date, you should do it in-house. I think that's a very good framework and a very good single question that you can ask yourself to get a better idea of what you should be doing.
Exactly. And what would you say? So let's talk about some of the cons of outsourcing. So I'll just mention two, and then you can kind of expand. Maybe I'll steal all your ideas. But one is cost. Usually it costs more to outsource. You're paying obviously that overhead plus some. And then I think the control. I think you have less control over an outsourced team. And that could be my own bias of what I've done when I've outsourced programming. I've never in-house programmed, so this will be a new experience for me. So hopefully I feel like I have more control. But it just felt like when I outsourced, deadlines slid because other things came up and the communication wasn't whatever it may be, right? And I think that's what I ran up against outsourcing. So what would you say?
Yeah, I think when it comes to outsourcing, like we also had this discussion, right, where we were thinking of this product. Okay, we want to build this, so we had this question come up. Okay, should we outsource it? And we even met with a few agencies. We even met with a few people and had this discussion with the product. But then we eventually decided to go in-house. And I think these two were one of the bigger points, that that we discussed, okay, it will always cost more. Maybe it might not cost more if you think, okay, MVP level, because to do it in-house, you might need to do a lot of more things, a lot of more overhead costs, but in the long run, it always costs more. And definitely when it comes to control, you don't have that control. And the other thing that I feel that I think that happens, and in my experience it has happened, is that, see, when you hire a development agency, especially you're outsourcing it to an agency, you're paying them something, they have to make their profit, and then they have to hire the people under that, right? So sometimes you might go, if you're spending a lot of money, then definitely you're getting a lot of good talent. But if you are on a budget, then definitely means that you are getting a lot less quality for what you're paying, and you can get much more quality when those people, when that difference, that the profit that they are making, you are paying it directly to those developers and paying the same amount to the developers, but it's going in directly. So sometimes it's always better to, even if you're outsourcing, there are two options, right? You can either hire kind of freelancers and outsource a product to them, or you can hire an outsourcing agency or like a development agency software house in some other country where you can give the project to them. So definitely, like, then they'll have their own stack that they want to build on. They'll have their own processes that they have to build on. And I've also noticed something. I'm not sure if everyone does that, but I've noticed a lot of refactoring that goes on as well, because a lot of agencies already have. If it's a big agency, like if it's a big software house, a big outsourcing software house, then they already have a lot of products that they've built, right? So they'll always try to save time for themselves by bringing on modules from other legacy tools, right? So that's the maintainability problem that comes in, because if it's a big product, you want it to be maintainable, right? That eventually when you move that in-house, you need those products or those code to be maintainable, so your developers can then take that forward. But so that starts becoming a problem when it's a refactored code that comes in from legacy programs. So that I've seen happen a lot, where these agencies want to use their own code, old code, to stuff in different features, things like that. Maintainability becomes a problem when you have to. And then if it's in a company, then it happens less. But there's a big problem that happens with freelance developers, and that is they go MIA, they go missing. And like we also, like, even with small projects, we get a lot of people or our clients that they say, okay, I was developing this, I don't know where my developer is. So that's a big problem, especially if you are investing a lot of money, and if you're working with different developers, not working with an outsourcing company, you're working with different developers that you have hired on Upwork or any other platform. If they go missing, you end up with problems as well. So there are a lot of communication challenges, a lot of reliability challenges that come in with that.
Yeah, I think to that point, the good thing about not having your own employees, using an outsource, is all of the resources are on them. They have to figure out how to hit the deadlines with whatever is agreed upon with their resources. They don't have to worry about the HR issue. You don't have to worry about the HR issues, right? You don't have to worry about having desks or chairs or computers or all the startup costs that come into having, inside the outsource. So you might be convincing me that we made a mistake here. So I think we might need, no, just kidding. So let's talk about some of the pros of in-house. And then we'll talk
just to add to that point, like I said, I think when you look at it maybe in 3 months lens, you might think that outsourcing it is cost effective as well. But when you expand that lens to 6 months or 12 months, that's when you start seeing the major differences that start coming in, right?
Yeah, and I think that gets back to our first point of, hey, how long do you think your project is? Less than 6 months probably makes sense to outsource it, right? If it's, X number of hours, lay that out over 6 months, you see that that's going to fall within that frame, plus or minus a month, probably a good idea. If it's bigger than that, it might be worth, actually maybe even a year. I'd say a year, probably, right? Like maybe 9 months, somewhere in there. But okay, so the pros of going in-house. So let's talk about the cons first. Let's talk about the cons of in-house. And I kind of alluded to, it's almost the opposite of whatever the pros are for outsourcing, right? So the cons, obviously there's huge upfront costs that you have to incur to even get the team up and running, and you don't even know if the product's going to work yet, right? Or be viable, or anybody's going to like it, or anything, right? So it's a lot of capital to outlay. What else would you say?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the cons of in-house, there's a big question that comes in, right? There's a big kind of elephant in the room. Like, will you, if it's in the US, like if you're based in the US, or like Canada or somewhere like that, are you building that in-house team there, or are you building that in-house team overseas, right? Because that changes the whole equation. Because if you're building an in-house team in US or in Canada or somewhere like there, definitely there's huge capital inflow outflow that will happen, and you'll have to be a lot of investments that will go in, a lot of uh, like you said, computers, all that. It all starts adding up, right? It all starts adding up, and you'll have a big kind of a cost there. But if you're building a team out like overseas, like we are, so we are building a team which is in-house, but it's overseas. So then definitely the question equation gets more favorable for in-house as well. Like even when you look on a shorter lens as well, because if you're already building it out overseas, then the costs are much lesser than what you'll be having to build if you're building it onshore, right? So I think that happens, and I think definitely there, apart from the cost, one of the biggest cons of hiring in-house team is the team itself, right? That you have to find the good people, you have to convince them to come on board, because not every good person is available and wants to come on board, because you might think your idea is like world changing, but not everyone would agree, right? So finding those right people and convincing them to come on board, and once they're there, making sure that they remain with you, because definitely good talent is short. So everyone wants that good talent, so making sure that that talent sticks with you for the long journey ahead. So I think that is the biggest issue, and that is one of the reasons that many people avoid hiring an in-house team, because they don't want to get into this kind of managing the team kind of an environment. Because when you have a team, you have to manage them, you have to manage their payroll. If it's overseas, maybe there's a taxation that you have to manage. Then someone in the team might not like the other person, so then you have to manage that as well. So there's a lot of management that has to happen, but definitely the payoff of that is definitely huge as well. So I think it goes both ways, right? But it is a big con, and for us, it is it's better for us because we have ground presence there where we are building the team. So for us, it's much easier. But definitely, if it's someone who's based in the US and they're hiring an overseas team, maybe in Philippines, India, Pakistan, wherever, and they don't have ground presence, that's where in-house will start becoming more technical for them.
I think, this is almost not just in-house versus outsource. It's almost overseas versus like onshore, like offshore versus onshore, right? To your point, it's like there's 4 decisions you need to make. Okay, if I'm going to decide to go, in-house, do I do that in the United States or do that overseas, right? And if I do it overseas, do I have ground presence, right? Which I think is, we don't know yet, as we didn't say the date, but it is March 29th, 2020, Sunday. And we don't know if it's going to work out. But I have a feeling we're already getting better qualified candidates just by having 2 people on the ground in Karachi, interviewing people, having their eyes on them, getting through those 2 interviews to then interview with me to then identify, hey, like, yes, let's build this team. So I think that's the route that we've gone. So the pros, I think, long-term costs, right? Whether it's in-house, well, maybe not. I guess if you outsourced overseas, it still could be cheaper than in-house in the States, right?
Yes.
So I do think you have better control over your team if they are in-house. That's something that is, I feel like, and you can set the direction much clearer and control those resources where you want them to be and what they're doing. What do you got for pros of in-house?
No, I think definitely, like, if it's for us, it's a bigger project. Like development is definitely, it's like a core input of the product that we are building. But definitely, like maybe 12 months or 18 months down the line, the development part will be more like on a ongoing basis, and the support part will be more like an active player, right? Right now, our support departments, all that are on the back foot, and the development team is on the front foot, right? But right now, I don't know if like people who play cricket might understand my analogy. Like the development team is more on the front foot, and the support teams are more on the back foot. But I think 12 months, 18 months down the line, the support team will be the ones who will be more on the front foot, playing the big shots, right? So I think if there's a scenario like that where you have different teams that want to have to play in, then definitely having an in-house team creates that synergies that you need, right, for these teams to work together. Because if you have, let's say, a support team in-house and the development team outsourced, it's very difficult to create the synergy that you need going forward. Like if say it's month 18, you have a good number of customers going on. Now you are getting bug fix requests, you're getting new feature requests. Your support team is in-house getting those requests, but your team is outsourced. So getting that synergies built is difficult, right? So if you have an in-house team, getting those synergies built from day one will be much easier. The team will be gelled in, the team will have that synergies that they can keep the product running on a good scale, on a good maintainable level, right? So I think that's a big pro from a technical side that I see. And definitely like then you can choose your technical direction as well. Like because as you go forward, you can like take charge of the technical roadmap that okay, what framework are we building on? What things are we building on? You choose it at the start. You start building it 6 months, 8 months down the line. You say, okay, we are at a point where we need to build a certain feature set, but Python is, let's say, the best known, the best language for that particular feature set. You can hire someone on Python. So you can build your skill levels as you grow, as you need more people. You can like kind of scale up, get the right resources on the right technical scale. Okay, we need someone on who's much more experienced on Python. Let's get someone on Python. We need someone who, okay, we are dabbling into AI now. Let's get someone who's more experienced into that. Now, going with an outsourced company and getting that kind of flexibility is very difficult. I'm not saying it's not possible, but then it might be the question, oh, your company will say, no, we can do only this, hire another company to do that. So then once the product is technical and complex, it starts becoming a problem.
Yeah. You mentioned, development and support. I mean, you could even have your development in Karachi, and I mean, and the synergies is important, but if they're both in-house and the support is in the States, you could still have that synergy.
Yes, that doesn't matter, right? Because if they work for the same company, work from morning to evening, whatever time they're working on together in one product, and they know their leadership is the same, they're being led by the same people, that creates the synergy that they need, right? And you can build that culture as well, because then you could have control over that culture. But I think it comes down to it. I think this is also a byproduct of the control part that you mentioned, that you have more control.
Exactly. So I think after all of that, we did choose in-house mostly for the reason I think that this project is going to be going for a very, very long time. I don't think there is an end date in sight of when it would be done unless we ever sold it, right?
Yes.
So knowing that and wanting to have the control over every feature and having the flexibility of moving those pieces around to add people and move people into different seats that we feel is the best way to do it is the reason that we did it. Do you have obviously I don't know if cost was necessary. We didn't run the numbers, but I think we did at a high level and just said yes, it will be cheaper over time, but that wasn't the main driver for us, to be honest. It was more of it
was more of having that control. I think that was like yes, we did talk to a few people, we got their rates of outsourcing, and I think we even didn't run a calculator to see the numbers. We just said, okay, costs aside, I think we won't have that level of control that we need, because we're not building a feature set, we're not building a small widget, we're not building a small tool that we need to use, we are building a product. And when we are building a product, we need that level of control, that granular level of control over how each feature is built and how each feature goes forward. So I think that then did bring up the conversation of the cost in that.
Yeah, I have no problem mentioning, but maybe we just use rough calculations because we don't know 100% yet, but we got a quote for, what was the hourly rate of outsourcing?
I think we got quotes from, when I talked to a few people and we talked to a few people from your side, I think we got it from around $25 to around $45 an hour. That's what we got per person. So that's the average kind of cost that we got, $25 going up to $45. But this is definitely like as the product grows more complex and we need more complex resources, this cost would have gone higher as well, because I think a lot of things have changed since then. I think $25 to $45 is a good range. That's what we got.
I would say our range right now, with hiring people in Karachi, obviously not including anything for myself or yourself really at that level, right? Is anywhere between $4 and $10 per hour, right?
This is just for, I think that's not I would say it would be, let's say we should say the number should be around $10 to $13, because you have to add the overhead costs on that, because with an outsourced company, we didn't have any cost.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So we can save under $15, very much under $15, something around $12, $13.
Yeah.
Maybe and the good thing about, if we even say $15, the good thing here is it would go down as we grow, right? The economy
Almost the opposite of the outsource, right? As we grow, it gets more expensive, but with the insource, it would actually
because because right now costs are higher because we have to hire more experienced senior people. But as your product grows, you don't need everyone to be like 10 years of experience, 12 years of experience. You can get more junior people. You can get a more learning environment in the team. So that brings your hourly cost down. So even if it's $15 right now, maybe once we have this another episode on that, after 12 months, we might be at $10 or $12. So that's a good thing, that it keeps going down till a certain stage. So you get the economies of scale benefit on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think that's a pretty good wrap on this one of, building your SaaS company, whether it's, overseas or onshore, outsourced or in-house. I think this title can almost change a little bit based on that. There's the 4 metrics of where you kind of want to be with those things. Any last words?
I just hope that if you are watching this, I'm just telling the people, if you are watching this video and you're an outsourced agency, please don't hate us for that, because like I said, I think there are good use cases, but I think our use case was very different, and especially for SaaS products, I think the use case is more in-house. And I think with outsourcing agencies, it's best if, like you said, you have an end date. If you have a product that has a very specific feature set and okay, I need that and I don't need anything else, going outsourced is the better option. But if you have something where you need more control, it's something that will go on for years, then having that control, maybe it might cost you more upfront, but having that control will pay off.
I think if there's an outsourced company that would like to have a conversation with us, like to come on and talk, more than happy to have that discussion for you guys to put your stake in the ground and talk about why you think outsourcing is better. Definitely open to do that. Just let us know. Well, I'm Michael. He's Abdul. Thanks for joining. We'll be back with another episode here shortly. Let us know if you have any questions or anything. Thanks.
Goodbye.